What is a provisional security clearance and how long does it remain in effect? Hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with clearancejobs.com. Yes, I know my backdrop is jacked. The lighting is terrible in my office today, but school's back. So welcome to the school supplies edition of your security clearance news update. Back to the actual news. Provisional security clearances. If you have never heard of one, you are in good company. The policy around provisional security clearances has theoretically been possible for a while, but like a lot of things, we have these terms that are around and then we start to see an uptick in them used. It's something that the Defense Office of Hearings and Appeals has discussed. DCSA has started to discuss it more often. What is a provisional security clearance? It basically is a security clearance granted with provisions. When I get questions about provisional security clearances, a lot of them sound like they're getting conflated with interim security clearances for individuals who've been granted them. So I don't always know individuals who are emailing me and asking me about their clearance, saying that they got a provisional security clearance, if it truly is a provisional security clearance or if it is an interim. If it is a provisional security clearance, you should, as a security clearance recipient, have some clarity around the provisions under which your security clearance eligibility has been granted. Specifically things like, hey, you have some debt issues. We're going to grant your eligibility under the provision that you don't have more issues. Or even, I haven't seen this scenario, but I could see it actually coming into case a lot of times when folks have maybe issues of ongoing legal troubles, maybe a parole violation, some incident happens, the government might decide to provisionally continue to grant your eligibility or access provided you are meeting the requirements set out by law enforcement for your parole, probation, whatever scenario that it is from a legal enforcement standpoint. So you might have something that law enforcement requires you to do, and the government saying, hey, we actually don't think you're an issue for violating the trust of the government, reliability, trustworthiness. You have these other issues. We do think it's important that you adhere to those. We are granting you your eligibility under those provisions. A provisional security clearance should not last forever. That said, you should again have a term, awareness, understanding for you that, hey, I've been provisionally granted access and is related to XYZ scenario. Full security clearance eligibility without that provision will be granted based on a certain amount of time. Again, when it comes to terms, interim security clearance is a totally different thing. So you're granted interim eligibility as you await a final determination. So they are still conducting the investigation. You just have interim eligibility. It can depend agency by agency. The IC does not grant interim security clearances. So this is going to be just a DOD or other agency qualification. Interim security clearance eligibility will be granted based on a tertiary check and saying, hey, we're going to fulfill the full investigation, but grant you interim access. Again, provisional security clearance is saying, hey, we've done the investigation. We think you should be eligible to access classified information. You have a few gray areas that are areas of concern, not areas that the government is concerned about your reliability or trustworthiness for your clearance eligibility today. But if you don't continue down the path you're on, they would be concerned. So they want to make sure that you're, again, just being reliable and trustworthy. As they're saying they think you are, they're kind of just adding another kick to say, make sure you are, and then before we get your full eligibility determination made. It's just a great way for your security officer to be more accountable for you. Good security officers are kind of generally keeping tabs on their whole staff, and especially with big companies with a lot of people, they can't be regularly checking in with all applicants or making sure things are going okay. So it just kind of sets out something to say, even from this idea of a continuous vetting scenario, we're continually vetting candidates. We're also just aware of folks who may have other issues that we just should be aware of within the national security community. So not a bad thing. Provisional security clearances are a great thing, a good thing for folks who, again, have some minor issues, but things that can be mitigated that maybe have not been fully mitigated yet. I'm probably not explaining it for the full depth. There's some security clearance attorney who's like, you could do better. I'm sure I could. It's the start of the school year, man. We're all stressed out. But we will write more about it and include more information and also allow you to see kind of some of those policy technical qualifications around the provisional security clearance process, because it is a term, it is its own entity, and it is different than an interim security clearance. And again, I'm seeing some confusion around those terms. So for more on that, provisional clearances, interim clearances, all the clearance news you need to know, visit us over at clearancejobs.com.